Okay, guys, we are back to do the Daniel video. I'm a day late because yesterday was rather busy. I'm paying for it now, but we achieved the goal. We found a very, very good deal on a very nice car. Um, Actually, we shouldn't have found a deal that good, but we found it. So, thank you to the Lord for blessing us so richly in the way that He did, in all the ways that He does. Okay, now we're going to do Daniel 11 today. We're almost done with Daniel. Like I said in several of the videos, this isn't comprehensive. We're just covering some pretty key points, things that are jumping out at us, whatever the Holy Spirit leads us to look at. There's a lot here, and there's a lot more that's going to manifest as the coming weeks and months, especially next year, with it being an election year. I think we're going to see some of Daniel fulfilled quite specifically. We'll find out. So we have today Daniel 11, tomorrow Daniel 12. This chapter is titled The Kings of the South and the North. I don't know for sure. This might tie to Daniel 8. I don't know yet. We'll see. Verse 1, also in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I, stood up to confirm and strengthen him. Now, if you remember last week, terrifying vision of a man, Daniel's terrifying vision, and how it matched the same vision John saw in the book of Revelation. Verse 2, and now I tell you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings will arise in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than them all. By his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. Now, this is interesting because why is Greece such a big topic here? Because as a nation, Greece is nothing. So why is Greece such a big focus? I think this is why a lot of people get caught up in this all the stuff from Daniel being in the past. Well, the thing is, Greece wasn't nothing back then either. Greece was nothing. It was the Greco-Roman Empire that was something, not Greece. As a nation, Greece is nothing. Now let's go to the King James. And notice verse 2, it's Grecia again. So let's do a refresher on what that is. Against Grecia, H3120. Yavan, probably from the same as H3196, which is Yayin, from an unused root meaning to effervesce, wine. So that's the minor one for that root. But this definition is effervescing, that is hot and active, which means it's something that's moving. Yavan, the same name of the son of Joktanah and the race, Ionians, that is Greeks, descended from him with their territory also of a place in Arabia. So this is the most interesting part of this. The Ionians, that is Greeks, but they're descended from them. They're descended from the name of the son of Joktan. I think this Grecia is us. It's just me. If you watched Daniel 8 video, you understand why I come to that conclusion. I think this is us. This Grecia, because everything about our country is Greco-Roman in nature. Our government, our architecture, it's kind of interesting how much, when you look at Washington, it's almost, if you were to look at old Rome and then look at Washington, you'd be hard-pressed to find many differences. It's very specific. In fact, here just a few years ago, there was this weird gate that they found. I forget the name of it. It's up there in Washington. It's actually something very evil. And it's Roman pillar architecture, So I think this Grecia is us. That's just me. I don't think it's Greece at all. Because the definition, why wouldn't this just say Greece? If it's Greece, why wouldn't it just say Greece? But it's not. It says it's somebody that's of the race of the Greeks. They're descended from them with the territory. Interesting. America, before it was a nation, used to be part of the Greco-Roman or the Ottoman Empire. Nobody had really been there very much, but it was claimed as part of the Ottoman Empire, or at the very least parts of it. So I think I think Grecia. I think this is actually talking about us. That's just me. stir them up against the realm of Greece. I find that interesting that it says realm. What is realm? Realm is, it's Malkuth, or Malkuya. From H4427, a rule, concretely a dominion, empire, kingdom, realm, reign, royal. That doesn't describe Greece. I don't think Greece has ever been that way. So notice it's generic in its description. It refers to things specific, but not to Greece. This would be any dominion. I think this is us, guys. I really think that what we're looking at here is a description of America. Just spitballing. I think it's hidden there for a reason. Verse 3, then a mighty king shall arise, who shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. And when he has arisen, his kingdom shall be broken up and divided toward the four winds of heaven. Now, this goes back to Daniel 8. Because the same thing happened to that goat with the notable horn that never touched the ground. The same thing happened to that goat. Now, people think this is a past prophecy. Something that's already happened. Well, the Greco-Roman Empire broke up into four pieces, but only part of it broke up into four pieces. But the things that Daniel 8 states don't fit that time frame and what happened then at all. Only certain aspects of it. They're like, well, he was the first king. He wasn't the first king. He was the first king to put his face on a coin, but he was not the first king. This nation that Daniel 8 talks about and is being alluded to here in Daniel 11, that nation, that first king is the first king that nation has ever had. What nation on earth, any area on earth has ever not had a king? Well, there's only one that I know of. That's America. In Daniel 8 it says that's that nation's first king. And I showed you the stuff about going on with Trump, how he's going to make himself a king when he gets elected. He will get elected. That's not a prophecy. It's not a prophetic statement. He will get elected. The Democrats all but secured that. I think this is him. I think this is all about this. We'll find out. We'll find out. And when he is risen, his kingdom shall be broken up and divided toward the four winds of heaven, but not among his posterity, nor according to his dominion with which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be uprooted even for others besides these. So it's not going to have the same power that his kingdom had. This is literally talking about the stuff that's happening in Daniel 8. Now, verse 5, also the king of the south shall become strong. Well, who would that be? Who's south? I mean, if this is America, who's south of that? Mexico. And they've been growing a lot last few years. As well as one of his princes. And he shall gain power over him and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. He's going to grow. Now, again, don't get me wrong. This might not be talking about this. I'm just throwing out what's it seems to me. Speaking from my very limited understanding. Verse 6, at the end of some years, they shall join forces, for the daughter of the king of the south shall go to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of her authority, and neither he nor his authority shall stand, but she shall be given up with those who brought her, and with him who begot her, the father, I guess, and with him who strengthened her in those times. Well, that's rather interesting. So are we getting some specifics about stuff from Daniel 8? Maybe. Verse 7, but from a branch of her roots one shall arise in his place, who shall come with an army, enter the fortress of the king of the north, and deal with them and prevail. Is that king of the north? I mean, if this is America, is that talking about Canada? Possibly. Verse 8, and he shall also carry their gods captive to Egypt, with their princes and their precious articles of silver and gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. Now, did we change subjects here? Is this talking about old Egypt? Let's go look. Verse 8. Egypt. It's Mitzrayim, or Mitzrayim. This is the dual of H4693. Mitzrayim as Upper and Lower Egypt. So this literally says this is Egypt. Egyptians or Mizraim. So, see, if that other one, Grecia, was Greece, then this, you would think that this would speak the same way that one does, or that it would say it was Greece. It doesn't. It gives hints and clues. This says it's Upper and Lower Egypt. I find that interesting. how this is specifically talking about the nation, whereas Grecia doesn't. It's not Greece. Verse 8, where are we at? There it is. Get up there. Carry their goods captive, or gods captive to Egypt, with their princes and their precious articles of silver and gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. Interesting that he's talking about this thing with the princes and stuff. Is that talking about, is this the satanic realm? Maybe. Also the king of the north shall come to the kingdom of the king of the south, but shall return to his own land. Now, if Grecia is America, now this could have talked about something. This could have switched subjects. It's possible to switch subjects and it's talking about something else. But if that Grecia is America by chance, and again, I could be wrong, but it's America. This sounds like this is talking about Canada and Mexico, because they're going back and forth because America is nothing anymore. Now, of course, this would be something that would be happening in the tribulation, most likely. This is a big power battle here. Also, the kingdom of the north shall come to the kingdom of the king of the south, but he shall return to his own land. However, verse 10, his sons shall stir up strife and assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overwhelm and pass through. Then he shall return to his fortress and stir up strife. Notice that king of Grecia is no longer an issue. These guys are passing back and forth like it's nothing. That nation is no more. Now, keep in mind, if you take this over to the Middle East and start looking at it in the Middle East, you've got to try to figure out what nation that Grecia would be in that, because if you go with Egypt and you look at Greece, there's a big disconnect there on how this is played out. It doesn't fit what this is describing if it was over in the Middle East. Verse 11, and the king of the south shall be moved with rage and go out and fight with him, with the king of the north, who shall muster a great multitude. But the multitude shall be given into the hand of his enemy. When he has taken away the multitude, his heart will be lifted up, and he will cast down tens of thousands, but he will not prevail. Interesting number right there, tens of thousands. Verse 13, for the king of the north will return and muster a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come to the end at some years with a great army and much equipment. So there's going to be some years going on here. Verse 13, let's look at that. Let's see. Multitude greater after certain years. It's F, H6256. From 5703, time, especially averbially with preposition, now, when, after, ways, certain, continually, evening, long, due season, as so long as, even, evening, noon time. So it's a short period of time, very short period of time. That's interesting. It's not a long period of time. Let's see. Where are we at? Yeah. Verse 13, for the king of the north will return and muster a great multitude, or multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come at the end of some years with a great army and much equipment. This is talking about a short period of time. Verse 14, now in those times many shall rise up against the king of the south. Also violent men of your people shall exalt themselves in fulfillment of the vision, but they shall fall. Fulfillment of this vision. I'm thinking we're getting more specifics as it relates to Daniel 8. Verse 15, so the king of the north shall come and build a siege mount, and take a fortified city. And the forces of the south shall not withstand him. Even his choice troops shall have no strength to resist. Now we know that something similar to this happened in the past, but again, there are details that are missing in that event versus this prophecy. I still think this is a future prophecy. Verse 16, but he who comes against him shall do according to his own will, and no one shall stand against him. He shall stand in the glorious land, that's Israel, with destruction in his power. Now remember who that guy is. Now remember what it says in Daniel 8. He's going to rise up, little horn, knock out 3 other horns out of that nation that breaks into 4. Now if you go back to the time when people think this happened, Nobody ever rose up and took out three of the four leaders that took over the Ottoman Empire when it broke up. No little horn stood up and took out the other three. There's details missing in those events compared to this prophecy. This individual, but he who comes against him shall do according to his own will. This is the Antichrist spoken of in Daniel 8, because he says he's going to be focused on the king of the north, the south, and the glorious land. So there's going to be a big battle going on there. But he has his eyes set on the glorious land. He's going to go to Israel and take over, with destruction in his power. Verse 17, he shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and the upright ones with him. Thus shall he do. And he shall give him the daughter of women to destroy it. Interesting term here. And he shall give him the daughter of women to destroy it, but she shall not stand with him or before him. Remember how the Antichrist he has no love for women's issues. He has no focus on that. He has no issue. People think that's because he's gay. I don't think it's because he's gay. I think he just doesn't care about women or what they desire, what they want, or who they are as a person. He looks down on women. Don't know, but that's what it seems like is going on here. He could care less about this woman. He shall give him the daughter of women to destroy it, but she shall not stand with him or before him. She won't be on his side. Verse 18, after this he shall turn his face to the coastlands, and shall take many, but a ruler shall bring the reproach against them at an end. And with the reproach removed, he shall turn back on him. There's going to be a lot of strife in this situation. So this is giving us a series of events happening in a short span of time, most likely after the rapture, where all these things are taking place and all these nations are changing what they're doing and changing who rules what, who runs what. The world as we know it was going to completely flip upside down at that time. Everything that's called normal now will not exist back then. Verse 19, then he shall turn his face toward the fortress of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. He shall stumble and fall and not be found. Verse 20, there shall arise in his place one who imposes taxes on the glorious kingdom, on the Jews. But within a few days he shall be destroyed, but not in anger or in battle. What does the Bible say about that? He won't be destroyed. I think it's in Revelation. He won't be destroyed with words or with fighting. He won't be destroyed with fighting. He won't be destroyed by human means. He's going to be destroyed by the word of the Lord. He will be destroyed, but not with human means. In the book of Revelation, this verse, there's linking right to that very same thing. You guys know which one I'm talking about. Let's see, we're in verse 20 here. Let me highlight this. Whoops. Let me highlight this. Let's go to Revelation. Well, first let's go to Google. Let's see. This is leading me back to Daniel 8. Let's see. Is it Revelation? Let's see. Ruins. Earth. Let's see. Revelation 11:18. I don't think it's that one. Let's take a look here. Revelation 11:18. Wrath has come. The time of the dead. It should be judged. With your servants and the prophets and the saints, those who fear your name, small and great. and should destroy those who destroy the earth. Nope, that's not it. The other one was 20, verse 3. And he cast him in the bottomless pit, shut him up, said, see no more. He seems to be released for a little while. Nope, that's not it either. Revelation 19, 20, and 21. False prophet, sons of wonders, those who worship the image. These two were cast alive in the lake of fire by brimstone. The rest were killed with the sword, which proceeded from the mouth of him. No, that's part of it. Let me do a search here. I thought there was something in the book of Revelation about this too. Let's see. Through his cunning he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule. He shall exalt himself in his heart. This is Daniel 8:25. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. He shall even rise against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without human means. I thought there was something in the book of Revelation about that. I guess not. Maybe it's human hands. Nothing. I could have sworn there was a passage in the book of Revelation about this very same thing. But we know there is one in Daniel 8. So, back here. Daniel 11. There shall arise in his place one who imposes tax on the glorious kingdom, but within a few days he shall be destroyed, but not in anger or in battle. So again, that's taking us back to Daniel 8. I thought there was something in the book of Revelation about Jesus destroying him, but it was without human means. Maybe I'm not correctly remembering the verse, but I thought there was something in there about that. Since my memory is shot, I have to Google everything. But anyway, we do have a link going back to Daniel 8. So there's a lot of Daniel 8 is right here in Daniel 11. Verse 21, and in his place shall arise a vile person, to whom they will not give the honor of royalty, but he shall come in peaceably and seize the kingdom by intrigue. So this may just be this is our group of people that are going to cause problems. This may be our Antichrist. Verse 22, with the force of the flood, they shall be swept away from before him and be broken, and also the prince of the covenant. Interesting wording there, the prince of the covenant. I wonder who that is. Let's see. Here, it's down in verse King of the South, Prince of the Covenant. Stumble and fall. Doomed by flatteries. The arms of the flood, they shall be overthrown, but before him shall be broken, yea, also the Prince of the Covenant. So, Prince is Nagid, a commander as occupying the front, civil, military, religious, generally abstract, pure, honorable themes, captain, chief, excellent thing, chief, governor, leader, noble prince. So somebody of nobility, is somebody who's high up. And then the covenant is berith, in the sense of cutting, a compact, because made by passing between pieces of flesh, confederacy, covenant. So it's going to be probably the main covenant of that time, the 7-year covenant. South. Here we go. Verse 23, and after the league is made with him, he shall act deceitfully, for he shall come up and become strong with a small number of people. He's going to have his own little army, a personal army that he's going to use. And I guess it's either going to be a personal agreement between them, or that's talking about the 7-year covenant. So what we're seeing is guys, what this seems to be describing to me, just like Daniel 8 does, is the time right before the rapture starts. Or right at the very beginning when this stuff is unfolding. It's giving us a great deal of details. Again, remember, this isn't going to be comprehensive. I'm not going to be able to cover everything. I'm only covering what the Holy Spirit is directing us on here. Because there's a lot of this none of us know. In fact, there's a lot of people who don't even talk about Daniel 11 anymore, even the theologians. Verse 24, he shall enter peaceably, even into the richest places of the province. And he shall do what his fathers have not done, nor his forefathers. He shall disperse among them the plunder, spoil, and riches, and he shall devise his plans against the strongholds, but only for a time. Now, if we go with time times and half a time, that would be a year. He's only going to do it for a year. He's going to win everybody over with this stuff. But it's all lies. Verse 25, he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. But he shall not stand, for they shall devise plans against him. Yes, those who eat of the portion of his delicacies shall destroy him. His army shall be swept away, and many shall fall down slain. So there's a bunch of people getting into a lot of fighting here. They're fighting for power. They're fighting for control. And, the tribulation is marked by this kind of fighting anyways. Verse 27, both these kings' hearts shall be bent on evil, and they shall speak lies at the same table, but it shall not prosper, for the end will still be at the appointed time. We have clearly see that this is talking about a specific time frame. Verse 27, let's go down here, and verse 27, for the end, Kates, contracted from H7112, an extremity, averbally with prepositional prefix, after utmost border, end, infinite process, or finite process. This is going to be the tribulation. That end is going to be at the time appointed. A fixed time or season. This is the date of the tribulation, the time frame of the tribulation, the fixed time. That's what this is referring to. This fixed, specifically fixed time that's going to happen. It has to happen. 27, let's get back down here. 28, while returning to his land with great riches, his heart shall be moved against the holy covenant. So they made this agreement, and now he's going to change it. He's going to change the agreement. So he shall do damage and return to his own land. So what I'm getting out of this, there's going to be a lot going on in this time frame of struggle. This is probably like the first 3.5 years. They're struggling to get everything under control. So the north and the south may not be Canada and Mexico. The north and the south may be the areas above and below Israel. So in Daniel 8, when it says that, it may not be talking about those particular areas. It may be talking about in the Middle East. Again, not comprehensive. We're looking at it. And I know the Holy Spirit is going to lead us back to this when the time comes. I think this next year is going to start opening up a bunch of this. I just want to get it covered and get it on video because that's what I was led to do. So we're not going to cover it all. Trust me, we're not going to get it all. Verse 28, while returning to his land with great riches, his heart shall be moved against the holy covenant, so he shall do damage and return to his own land. Verse 29, at the appointed time he shall return and go toward the south. But it shall not be like the former or the latter. For ships from Cyprus shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return in rage against the holy covenant and do damage. Maybe he's going to return to his land. Maybe it is talking about Canada and Mexico. I don't know. If that's America. We'll find out very soon. If you see, first of all, what's going to catch everybody's attention is if Trump gets elected. Because I'm kind of getting the impression that the notable horn on that goat in Daniel 8 is Trump. I mean, Trump. Horn. I mean, it's kind of hard to not see that. I could be wrong. But Trump gets elected and there's suddenly a massive airstrike on Iran from us, which we're currently practicing for with Israel right now as we film this video. We're literally in war games right now over there to do an airstrike, a massive airstrike against Iran. We're practicing for it. We're training for it. We're organizing and preparing for it already as we speak. So if that happens, you can go right to Daniel 8 and start reading that and go, And when you read, you start to realize, whoa. And I hope people will come back to these videos and look at them and go to the Bible themselves and look. If that's the case, we can come to Daniel 11 and start to put these pieces together and figure out what this is telling us. To the point of even predicting a lot of stuff. If we're even here. Very interesting, guys. The ships are he's gonna rage against the Holy Covenant, do damage. Remember, the Antichrist is going to take away the daily sacrifice and break the covenant halfway through. So this is giving us halfway through the tribulation. So this, like I said, this may be laying it out for us. Little key elements of information that are going to happen during this time frame. So he shall return and show regard for those who forsake the Holy Covenant. Could that be the Holy Covenant with God? I don't know. You'd think that would be capitalized if it was. Maybe he's just talking about the 7-year peace agreement. Verse 31, and forces shall be mustered by him, and they shall defile the sanctuary fortress. The Antichrist is supposed to defile the sanctuary, remember? Then they shall take away the daily sacrifices. So this is exactly what the book of Revelation says. Exactly what it says that the Antichrist is going to do. This is the Antichrist. So now we have our clear evidences of what's going on here. Then they shall take away the daily sacrifices. We know this is a halfway mark event. When he breaks the covenant. This is giving us, guys, Daniel 11 is giving us a play-by-play. I think Daniel 8 plays a key role in some of this. These are going to be key events that are going to unfold and show us the time frame and what's coming next. We'll go back and revisit this as time goes. But whenever we see more things happening, I think it's going to open up a lot more. But clearly, this is him. This is the Antichrist right here. He takes away the daily sacrifice. That specifically says in the Bible, in multiple places, now here, that's what he's going to do. And place there the abomination of desolation. He's going to declare himself God. People think he's going to slaughter a pig. No, he's going to declare himself God. Those who do wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt with flattery. He's going to talk a big game. But the people who know their God, capital, shall be strong and carry out great exploits. I believe the two witnesses are going to take their role in this point. They're supposed to do this at the midway point anyway. I think the two witnesses are two groups of people, not two individual people. If this is talking about these two witnesses, maybe. Verse 32, let's go look at it real quick. He shall corrupt flatteries, but the people, H5971, a people as a congregated unit, specifically a tribe as those of Israel, hence collectively, troops or attendants, figuratively a flock, folk, men, nation, people, that do know, Yada, they know their God. Their God, this is Elohim, shall be strong, Kozak. They're going to grow in their faith and do exploits. Let's see. Become, bear, bestow, bring forth, bruise. Guys, I think this is the two witnesses. They're going to bring forth fire, stop the rain, exercise fashion feet. Yeah, this may be the two witnesses right here that is talking about these people. This is talking about specifically a tribe, but not specifically Israel, just a tribe as those of Israel, which could be different people, folk, men, nation, people. This could be the two witnesses right here, guys. If that's the case, then if that's what verse 32 is talking about, then we can say that in the book of Revelation, the two witnesses are two groups of people. If that's the case, they're already in Israel as we speak. They just haven't been activated yet. Interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, right here, this could be talking about the two witnesses. The definitions we looked at seem like they may be describing that. Like I said, the closer we get, the more we'll start to understand this. But that's what that could be them right there. Verse 33, and those of the people who understand shall instruct many. Yet for many days they shall fall by sword and flame, by captivity and plundering. Now when they fall, they shall be aided with a little help, but many shall join with them by intrigue. They're going to try to sneak in, like they're doing in the church now. Verse 35, and some of those of understanding shall fall, to refine them, purify them, and make them white until the time of the end, because it is still for the appointed time. Could this be the martyrs under the throne? Some of them. Look, this is very interesting. Verse 35, and some of those of understanding shall fall, to refine them. They're going to fall to make them better, to purify them and make them white until the time of the end, because it is still for the appointed time. Guys, another key note here, we're still in the tribulation. This is all describing the tribulation. Verse 36, then the king shall do according to his own will. This Antichrist. He shall exalt and magnify himself above every god. Bingo. That's exactly what it says elsewhere he's going to do. So if y'all are going to want to do a study in this, you see the connections here. Daniel 11, Daniel 8, even some aspects of Daniel 7, and the book of Revelation more specifically. Shall speak blasphemies against the God of gods, our Lord, and shall prosper till the wrath has been accomplished, for what has been determined shall be done. Prophecy must be fulfilled. Verse 37, he shall regard neither the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall exalt himself above them all. He's not going to be a homosexual. He's not going to regard women and hold them in the regard Jesus does, but he's going to look down on them as being lesser than him. He shall exalt himself above them all. This is the Antichrist, and this is telling us exactly what he's going to do, just like the other books do that talk about this same thing. He won't regard any God. He's going to make himself God. Verse 38, but in their place he shall honor a god of fortresses. Now that technically could be Shiva. That technically could be Shiva or Apollyon. Let's see. God of fortresses. Let's see. Honor a god of fortresses. Let's go. We'll honor a god of fortresses. Verse 38, let's go take a closer look here. But in his estate shall he honor the God of fortresses. So they capitalize it here, Eloah. The second form is rare, probably prolonged emphatically. The deity of, or the deity. Now this says God or God, uppercase or lowercase, of fortresses. It's Ma'az or Ma'uz from 5810, a fortified place, figuratively a defense, fortress. I mean, God is our fortress. He's our rock. He's our strength. So could this be our God? But it says he's going to also honor a God whom his fathers knew not, shall he honor with gold, silver, and precious stones. Let's go back over here. But in their place he shall honor a God of fortresses, and a God which his fathers did not know, he shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. So he's going to honor a God that the ancestors didn't honor, didn't know. A new God, maybe. Somebody different that's coming on the scene. This could be Apollyon. Could be Abaddon. Could be Shiva. This God of fortresses. It's because it says it's a God. Not our God, but a God of fortresses. And another God. So he's going to have two of them. Verse 39, thus he shall act against the strongest fortresses with a foreign god, which he shall acknowledge and advance its glory. So there's no ownership of this particular god. It's a false god. He shall cause them to rule over many and divide the land for gain. They're going to divide Israel. This is the second half of the tribulation. You think it's bad now? Just wait. Verse 40, at the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, horsemen, and with many ships. And he shall enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through. So they're going back over, I guess, I'm assuming it's going to be over there in the Middle East that's going to happen. So again, we're looking at who are these north and south entities. Verse 41, he shall also enter the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. So he's going to, again, he should have already been there, yet he wasn't, I guess. But these guys are going to enter into that place. I keep getting confused here because it seems like sometimes it's talking about there in the Middle East, sometimes it's talking about over, it sounds like it's talking about over in our continent. Because further up in the chapter, he left and went back to his land. And then was attacked. And then, or going after him. And then came back. So this is, again, I don't fully grasp everything that's going on here because it seems confusing as to what he's talking about here. I think that's on purpose. But we'll find out more as the time goes on, and we'll come back and revisit this. But how interesting how this is unfolding. It's a lot of fighting, a lot of war. People think the first 3.5 years are going to be bad. Well, this just described the first 3.5 years, and it's now describing the second, and it's all war. The first 3.5 years of the tribulation are not going to be good. Verse 41, he shall also enter the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. But these shall escape from his hand, Edom, Moab, and the prominent people of Ammon. Specifically, he shall stretch out his hand against the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. He shall have power over the treasuries of gold and silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt. Also the Libyans and Ethiopians shall follow at his heels. He's giving you the names of the people who are going to be doing this. And boy, these same names of these nations are ready to do it now. Verse 44, but news from the east, and the north shall trouble him. Let's say this is Israel. What's east of Israel? America. Go across the water. The whole other continent. Therefore he shall go out with great fury to destroy and annihilate many. That news, would that news be Christians maybe? Possibly. The tribulation saints? Yep. From the east and the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go out with great fury to destroy and annihilate them. It says he's going to have great fury against the saints, fight against them. That's the saints. That's the saints right there. He's going to try to kill them all. Verse 45, and he shall plant the tents of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and no one will help him. That'll be probably the end of the tribulation. Guys, amazing chapter here. There's a lot of questions now. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to make sense. Again, I've come to the place where I've learned, no matter how much you study some of this, you're not going to learn it until the time is right to learn it. But clearly we see a direct connection between this and Daniel 8. Clearly we see the Antichrist being spoken of and what he will do during the tribulation, before and after the first 3.5 and the second 3.5. We're getting a greater level of detail contained in this chapter of what is going to happen here. Now, these kings of the north and south, I'm still interested as to who they are. I don't know if it's north and south of Israel or north and south of where this guy comes from. Personally, I don't think it's Greece. I think it's America. That's just me. Again, we'll find out about the next year. About the next election, we should find out. Next year or 2025, we should find out. Because if Trump gets elected, he'll take office in 2025. In January. Or will it be 2024? Right, regardless, we'll know. By then, we will know. Because if we see I'm telling you, you see that airstrike on Iran. If they deliberately go after Iran, and Damascus will probably get taken out in the interim, because they have to pass near there in order to get to Iran, especially from our area. They're going to go right over it. It would be very easy for them to do a bombing run and just wipe it out completely. And a lot of Iran's military are there in Syria, or in Damascus. So they might do that. If that happens and Trump is president, go to Daniel 8 and read it, and come here to Daniel 11 and read this. You're going to get literally a play-by-play of everything that's going to happen and who is going to be the partakers of it during that time frame. See, the Lord is opening this book up still. The book of Daniel still has more to teach us. But again, we'll come back to this. As it unfolds, we'll come back to this. I find this extremely, even though there's a lot of mysteries here, I find this extremely interesting because of how much of this is becoming more clear now. I never remember reading any of that before, but now we clearly see connections here. We see specifics being given here, very much specific, and a lot of age-old questions answered in this chapter. So we will definitely come back to chapter 11. This is pretty wild. Now, chapter 12 is going to be the time of the end. So this is going to be what's going to happen at the end. And again, it goes into, and it's short, it goes into more of these situations here, and it even gives encouragement too. But there's more here that's probably going to, it may help clear some of these questions up in Daniel 11. Daniel 11 is a chapter to watch, and Daniel 8. I think we need to study these. 10 was good, but 10 was a little bit different. This is very interesting. I think this is going to teach us more. And we'll go into the book of Revelation with some of this. Because we're definitely going to come back and revisit this. And I'll put it in this playlist. Yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot more here than I realized. Okay, so this is a big chapter. We're gonna come back and visit this chapter for sure. Guys, that was Daniel 11. I'm kind of befuddled a little bit. There's way more here than I figured. But then again, it also clarifies a lot too. Again, this will not be a comprehensive study, but as the Holy Spirit leads, we'll come back and we'll deal with more of these things. And then next week will be the time of the end, Daniel 12. It's only 13 verses, but there's a bunch. There's actually a bunch here. And Jesus speaks. Jesus speaks. So join me next week for that. And be ready, because I'm going to be getting into this some more. As the Holy Spirit leads, I'm going to get into this some more. There's quite a bit. This whole chapter sounds like it describes all the fighting going on during the tribulation. The whole 7 years. Powerful. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one.